Alrighty guys, we're out here in Coolin today. We've actually come out to Brendan and Gab Savage's farm, Tolga Farms, out here to have a look at this year's crop as it's starting to germinate. It's really an awesome opportunity for us to get together with our supply chain today and just actually have a chat through all of the things that have happened over the last 4 years as we developed a certified sustainable and carbon neutral malt for our brewery. So I've got Phil and Fabian from Bintanti here. We've got Brendan and we've also got Daniel from Joe White Maltings. We're going to be chatting all things to do with the barley, the supply chain for the barley, how important it is for us to look at the inputs that go into growing crops, and also how important it is for us to support local supply chains and work with farmers and work with the wholesalers and I guess everyone in the chain to get to an end product that still has the quality that we're all demanding but has lower inputs. Hope you enjoy the listen and enjoy. All right, we're out here in Coolin at Tolga Farms with basically the whole supply chain, or most of the supply chain behind our certified sustainable and carbon neutral malt. So Brendan Savage from Tolga, we're out here on your farm, mate. Talk me through how you guys grow your barley and I guess what the unique points are in your operations and your farming system.
Yep. So we're located in the sort of medium to low rainfall zone. So we've tried to pick a farming model that gives us an opportunity to grow cereals and run livestock profitably. So our goal is to produce a malt barley or a barley that doesn't require massive inputs, and the same with our oat program. And we do that by running a soft rotation that includes livestock, lots of emphasis on trace elements on our pastures, and use that rotation to control weeds and set the paddock up for the following year's crop. And if we get it right, we can then achieve certified sustainable and produce a malt product that meets all the requirements of the supply chain.
Yeah, nice. So one of the big things that we've worked with you guys on is reducing inputs and as a result reducing the impact that our malt has. Now, a lot of what I think gets assumed when we talk about reduced inputs and reducing impact is that it means lower quality or potentially has ramifications to what the end product's going to be. Now, one of the big things we find is that the malt that we're getting from you that's come all single origin, all grown out here, is some of the best quality malt that we've worked with, and we want to show and prove that lower input doesn't mean lower quality. What it means is that you're farming the best you can, right? It means that you're reducing those inputs, still trying to, and actually, in fact, hitting all of the targets we want to hit, and that shows through in the end product. I probably minced that a little bit, but I guess the end result and the end goal for us is to make the best fucking quality we possibly can. And it's almost a byproduct having lower emissions as a result of that. Yeah.
Well, we talk low input, but it's not no input. Low input is the synthetic N and maybe some P and a bit less K, but we're probably higher input with trace elements, biological amendments, even lime, gypsum, dolomite play massive roles in what we do. So we're working on everything except for massive rates of synthetic N. And the reason we do that is to try and maintain soil structure and produce a product that's, well, in the early days, our goal was nutrient density, but sadly, no one was interested in nutrient density. They were more interested in maybe lower emissions, but we wanted someone to use our product and prove up nutrient density, and hopefully that'll come more and more in the future. But the feedback that we've had from everyone that's tried any of our malt has been good. So I think we're on the right track, and because of the environment we're in, we're not aiming for, the very top yields, but we still want to be up in the top 10% in profitability, and that's where the project gets us.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing to emphasise, because ultimately the aim here is to make the best quality we possibly can with the lowest inputs possible. It's not no inputs. It's not about completely removing everything. It's like us as a brewery. We aim to have the lowest inputs we can for fuel, for energy, for everything. But it doesn't mean we don't have any. We can't do that, right? We're not at a place where we're able to achieve that yet. It's about doing what we can to make positive changes, but with quality, and quality control being the absolute must-haves. Everything else is incidental to that. Obviously, it's a key driver, and I think it's a key driver for you as well, but it's not what shapes the decisions made on a day-to-day basis. So we're also here with Phil and Fabs from Bintanti. So Bintanti are one of our major suppliers and have essentially built a relationship with Joe White Maltings and bought malt over the last how many years? 20 years, yep. So talk me through what you find exciting about this project and why you guys supported Sav and us as well to get this off the ground.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, we're rapt to be involved in it. We fundamentally believe in the philosophies around less inputs. It makes sense. We've seen quite a few farms around Australia that are doing an incredible job of reducing the inputs, and so it's something we support. It doesn't mean it's easy. I think there's still a large amount of sort of critical mass needed in the Australian market amongst the end users to actually get that critical mass required so that all of the barley coming through the malting works is lower input. But working with you guys has sort of been a step in the right direction. Like, it's been huge, actually, and that wouldn't have happened if you and Mel weren't on board with, you connected the grower to the end customer, and you kind of said, the important thing to me was when you said, we'll pay more for it, because I'm thinking in my head, this may actually cost a little more than normal, but I don't think it's turned out bad at all pricing-wise.
It's all ended up pretty good. And I guess what we're doing is guaranteeing that we're going to take that malt, that barley as a part of this. So I think there was a lot of risk on everyone's shoulders when we went through this, and certainly the first couple of years there's a lot of unknowns for us to get this up off the ground, but we all stuck to it and we all pushed through and we learnt a whole lot, and we're still learning a whole lot. I guess the context there for anyone listening in is that we take 320 odd finished tons of malt at one point in time, and the way that the plants work is that malt has to go out the door essentially that one day when it's ready to go. So there's a whole lot of logistics that goes into managing that and making it all happen in the back end. And it's been awesome. It's been, like I say, a huge learning experience for us. But I guess I really want to emphasize that the thing that we're learning more and more is it's less about us concentrating on sustainability, more about us showing that it's possible to do it without sacrificing quality, because I think that's the thing that everyone's really scared of, that quality comes into play somewhere along the line, and it doesn't. And this is the thing, right? We still concentrate on that quality.
You wouldn't be brewing with it. I mean, you're not going to compromise your beer because you can't. So what are we, 3 or 4 seasons in now, and it's working. But the other thing was it wouldn't have happened without Joe White kind of making it work through the processing and because the logistics side of it is huge, getting all the grain in, getting it through large plants that do have economies of scale. So, our role was a lot more, it was a lot easier than what Dan's was. So
moving on from that point, basically we've got Dan here as well. So, Dan, you essentially came into the picture after I'd spoken to Phil and Dale, and we'll go into that story in a minute about how this all came about, because it's a pretty good story. But I guess the logistics of pulling all this together, and I don't think we've ever really fully said thank you for that, because it's been it was a huge job, right, to make it all come, working with CBH to get a 10,000 tonne silo empty so that we can receive it all and certified as single origin and know what our CO2 inputs were for it. There was a lot that happened in that. So do you want to walk us through the process? And
no need to say thank you, because as Phil mentioned, the way these things get off the ground is if you've got all parties here sort of that are all bought into it. So in this instance, it was a farmer and a customer, and we just make it work at the end of the day. So and for such a project like this, it's so important that we do make it work. And actually CBH we're incredibly flexible. with us. So can't happen without them. But I guess the complexity of Perth for us, well, it's also not necessarily complexity, but it's predominantly an export plant, which majority of the malt that's produced in Australia is for export. So, we buy barley here in Australia, we value add, and then we send it overseas, which is a great story. Perth's predominantly export. So really the best way to sort of talk about malt in a malting plant is it's like a flow business. So if you stop the flow, you stop the plant. So that's why, for us with a plant like Perth, malt needs to keep going out the door. And thankfully, between yourself and Brendan, you're able to store all that malt, which is great. But I guess the bigger challenge is actually producing you really get one go at it to make the malt right. But if the barley's good, it makes it very easy. So, for us, we've been lucky that we're always within a pretty tight protein spec. Test weight's always good, and always using varieties that we're really accustomed to using at the malting plant anyway. It seems like at first it was a big challenge. Now we're in our 4th year and going into our 5th. It's just it's sort of easier every time. So
I think it's been, like I say, a huge learning curve for us, particularly around malt storage and making sure that everything held up. But as we were saying last night, we've noticed no drop off at all. So honestly, the malt's been consistent through the year. The storage conditions have been really good. Obviously, we've got to make sure that we keep tight control on pests, but that's happened and it's working really fucking well. So I think it's something that we firmly believe in. It's something that I think it'd be great to see more brewers adopting, and hopefully this year we can get it a little bit of a bigger batch out, so that more people can work with some lower input malt that still is of the same quality, if not, I think sometimes better quality as well. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've rambled a little bit there, but
I think ideally this year we get 2 batches through Perth, so it means that there's 300 tons to you guys, and then there's more to sort of share the love with other customers too, because I think it's a great story, and I mean you see it all over the cans as well. Like as a consumer, for me, just as a beer drinker, I love seeing the fact that you see something that's actually, a brewery that's actually making the steps to be carbon neutral. It's the investment I know would be in terms of cost as well as personal capital as well would be incredible. So as a consumer, I really gravitate to that anyway. So hopefully it's a chance for some of the other brewers to get involved as well.
Well, that's what we want to do. And again, our job as a brewer has been essentially to prove that it's doable, that the malt works really. Our job as a brewer is to, my job as apparently a host of a podcast is to make sure I'm actually speaking into the microphone. But no, our job as brewers is to make sure that we present the product the best we possibly can. And obviously malt is a huge part of every single beer we make. So if the quality wasn't there, we wouldn't be able to magically turn it into an amazing beer, right? And I think that our beers are of a pretty good quality, and I'm happy enough to say that I think we're certainly not.
I think you're doing okay. Yeah.
Cheers, appreciate it. Yeah.
Like on the whole supply chain thing, I don't think it's really important for people to realise that there's farmers out there that just go direct to a brewer, or they do farmers markets things with a couple of sheep and cut it up and whatever. Like the scale of this project is what's been really quite incredible, is that you've used the entire supply chain. So you've gone through everything that's existing in an export orientated state and made it work. And in my opinion, it's scalable in the future if the market determines that. So, it's not like my family and I are down at the down at the farmers markets flogging a couple of buckets of malt. It's a big project in its own right, but it's scalable to tens of thousands of tons 100%. If the world demanded it.
Yeah, and
that's what's exciting about what we achieved.
We want to see more
COVID.
farmers. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. What we want to see is widespread adoption, right? And ultimately, I think you're the test case to show that lower input doesn't mean necessarily lower yield. As you say, it actually generally means higher profit per hectare. So ultimately, from a farmer's point of view, it should be something that becomes a no-brainer. We just need to make sure that the market at our end is receptive to it. So for us, it's about concentrating on going, hey, it's about quality, and the huge benefit to us, to the planet, is that it's lower input, lower emissions as a result of it being, I guess, growing in a really good way. Do you agree? Is that about right? Yeah.
I was just going to add, like, what went through my head before talking about sustainability and making sure that, you know, on farm before you mentioned that, you know, your good years, the good years in general, you may not have the best years as your neighbours, but in the bad years, you'll still have the same years as before, and so it's or better. So, you know, it's not sustainability. We talk about CO2 emissions, but it's actually commercial sustainability 100%. As well is probably the most important thing, because you want to be doing business tomorrow.
Yep, 100%. And to Sav's point about soils, if you look after your soils and you look after your paddocks and your farm, then you're going to have more success in the 10, 15, 20 years that are coming, rather than being constantly reliant on that drip feed of nitrogen that everyone is at the moment. You know, commercial agriculture has changed a lot in the last 50 years, and I think we're finally seeing the light and seeing that change back to, oh, actually, we need to concentrate on soils. We need to concentrate on the overall health of the plants, because that's, I mean, for us at a much smaller, localised scale down in Jindong, that's been a huge drive for us the last 5 years as well. It's reducing inputs, but actually increasing yields, and it's amazing how that happens when you start paying attention to soil biology, carbon content, and just overall nutrient density and health of the soils. It's pretty cool. So, Fabs, you were the linchpin in all of this. You're the one who had to somehow or another try and get me on the phone and get me to actually answer questions every time it comes around to when do we need the next batch done and how do we go about it. So, I guess walk me through from your end, because you've kind of had to deal with everybody in that supply chain as much as anything else, and you've had to try and coordinate it and try to, you know, I guess herd cats, herd me, and herd our team into making decisions. What have you enjoyed most about the process?
First thing, I know how you work, so that makes it pretty easy. So herding cats, mate, yeah, pretty easy, mate. It's I think it was like 3 or 4 years ago, I sat in the meeting there at Jindong with Brendan and Gab and Phil, and had no idea what was going on, by the way. So some regenerated barley and, you know, certified stable guys. But from that moment, it was a pretty exciting project. Just to get the opportunity to make that project happen was pretty cool, really. And it's great to see the journey along the way. And it's just getting the right answers at the right time, and just make sure it doesn't rain, which unfortunately every time we receive the load it keeps raining.
I think every year so far has been raining when we've received the malt.
So when it doesn't rain,
No, it's fine. Let's not jinx it.
We're going to keep the flow the same. But yeah, it's been great to see, and as I said, the walking around Tolga Farms today, it's pretty awesome. So thanks for Brendan, Nick, and the family, and seeing the barley in the ground for the 5th season upcoming for next year. But it's great to see the whole supply chain. A lot of work is done from the moment it's seeded to the moment it's brewed, and the easiest part is really to drink it. So
I guess that's a really good segue, because this whole thing started over a few beers. Brendan, do you want to walk us through how we met and how you felt the day after we first met?
I'm a bit of a sucker for the project because of my love for beer. We went to the School of Good Times, Muresk, and made a lot of friends. And my daughter went to school with Coxie's daughter just down the road from Hamish, and they become good mates. And we'd sit on the beach, and we started flogging a bit of barley to the dairy, and hopefully his cows were producing more milk fats, and everything was going good. And I got quite frustrated at the time. I was visiting a few breweries and got laughed at, and I was going down the whole nutrient story, looking for someone to trial the barley, and we sent a consignment to Voyager Craft Malthouse over in New South Wales, I think they are. and the feedback we got was fantastic from them and Torella. So then I started looking for someone, and it was just an out-of-cuff conversation with Ed on the beach, and said, "Don't suppose you know a brewer, do you?" And he says, "As a matter of fact, I do." So we went around to Ed's, and I remember most of the conversation, but getting home was a challenge, and but the beauty was it was all serious, and we forged a relationship, and everyone from day one was on the same page, and I think that's what made this project work. It wasn't about who could rip who off, or everyone needed to be compensated, and we were doing it for the right reasons, and even CBH. Bought Malt and Bintanti, everyone's played their role really, really well and supported us no matter what. So, and it's been fun, it's quite a nice feeling to drink beer that comes out of your own paddock. So,
100%.
Thanks 100%. Very much, guys.
No, it was really. I think it was quite serendipitous because we met up and I sort of started thinking about, fuck, how do we do this? And I think I called Fabs up and he's like, I don't really know. And then it happened that Mel and I were going over to the US for the Craft Brewers Conference, and it was about probably 4 or 5 months after we first met with Brendan, and so we've flown over to the US and we've done our obligatory beer pilgrimage and gone to Russian River Brewing in what is it, Santa Rosa? And we're sitting there, and Mel and I were in the hotel doing a little bit of work, and we're like, why the fuck are we sitting in the hotel? So we jumped in a Uber and went down to Russian River, and we're sitting there drinking a few beers, and Dale walked past us, and he sort of did a double take, and he's like, I know you guys. And I was like, fucking hell. And anyway, so it turned out that there was a whole Aussie contingent at Russian River at the same time as we were, and we ended up drinking a whole lot of beers, and that's when we first actually started talking about how could we do this? Is it even possible? And sort of Phil and Dale were like, look, leave it with us, and we'll see what we can do, and we'll have a chat internally, and that started. I think it was probably 9 or 12 months it took for us to continually go back and forth till we were able to go, yep, we can make this happen. And then that first load, I think we all. You can edit this later, but we all shit ourselves a little bit because. It was a huge risk, right? It was a huge endeavour. It was a huge project, and I don't think we should downplay that. It was, 350 tonnes of barley go down. We ended up with 320 odd tonnes of malt coming out. 320 tonnes of malt is at that point was a year and a half's worth of supply for us. At this point, it's maybe 9 or 10 months worth of supply for us. But to sit on that much malt, and again, thank you to Bintanti for helping us out with that and making sure that it all worked out, and we're able to afford it, basically, because it's a big chunk of cash to go out the door at one point in time. But ultimately, what started with a drunken conversation out at the farm with a dairy farmer, Ed, thank you, ended with another drunken conversation in the US, and we suddenly managed to get it all to come together. But I'd probably downplay that a little bit. There was a lot of work that happened to make it come together, but it was a pretty exciting project, and it has been exciting to continue it on.
Well, we were lucky because after our conversation at Russian River, we just were able to grab Dan at the Craft Brewers Conference a week or so later, and Dan was probably drunk and agreed. Straight off the cuff. And no. We just got him at a good time, and he jumped on board as well. So it was good.
Yeah, it was really amazing how it all clicked into place, and then took a little bit of time to work out the logistics. But once you guys worked that out, and I have to say I had nothing to do with that other than talking to Sav and saying, "Hey Sav, have you got the barley?" and going, yep, we do. And then you guys managed to get all of that to come together, work with CBH, like you say, to be able to get it through the chain, because it's not a simple process, right? And as you say, that continuous flow has to be maintained. So being able to ensure that our barley was kept separate, and Sav's barley, but our malt was kept separate from the pool was not an easy task. So
the benefit's massive though, isn't it? Like it's in terms of carbon footprint in the actual can of beer.
100%. So we worked out that for the barley itself, it was 68% reduction in emissions to us. So that across our entire business equated to about a 30% reduction in our emissions just from that change, right? Which is huge. You know, we're pushing really hard to be net zero emitters. There's a few challenges to us in doing that, but ultimately we now have our scope 2 is completely eliminated. Our scope 1 we've reduced by 230% over the last 4 years. So we're getting very close to zero, and our scope 3 is the bit that we're concentrating on the most now, which is all of our logistics networks. It's everything inside of that. But ultimately, to be able to work with a farmer who gives a shit and wants the best quality and the best product going out there, and to be able to turn that into a beer that we can all sit around and enjoy at the end of the day, it's fucking awesome. It's a hell of a lot of fun.
This week's episode of Between Two Rocks proudly brought to you by Jenny, whose face can never be on camera. Jenny is in charge of our logistics and does a fucking awesome job. Thanks, Jenny.
We are doing all we can to expand the program further on the East Coast, whichever form that takes. That's the good thing about telling this story, is that hopefully some other breweries out there are keen to sort of, do what you did, which is sort of put your, I don't know, what's the right way to put your neck on the line or whatever it is, and lead by example. And
I think it's just it's trust in the chain, trust that everyone is going to do their part to the best of their ability, and as a result of that, then it comes to us learning how to do the storage side of it properly. Now, I think that ultimately, and what I'd love to see is that we don't end up having to take the full 300 tonnes of it at a time, and that other brewers are doing it, and we end up with a full year-round supply chain that has lower emissions, lower input malt coming through, right? And that's an ultimate aim. So any brewers out there want to reach out and ask questions of us, feel free to. If you want to come and grab some malt and at least do a small trial, or you want to come and have a fucking brew day with us and see what the mash quality's like and how everything goes, you're more than welcome to. Ultimately, we're an open book with regards to this, because we want more people to jump on board. We want more people to actually give a shit about the provenance of the supply chain, understand where it's coming from, work with their farmers, work with people in the local community to make things better, right? At the end of the day, we're a small independent brewery, right? We don't exist if people don't give a shit about supporting local breweries, right? And the same thing has to be said for agriculture. We need to give a shit about local farmers. We need to work with local farmers. We need to concentrate on that local supply chain as much as humanly possible, and help it to grow. Because again, without us doing it, it's a monumental leap, right? So every little step makes a change. At the end of the day, we worked with Sav to essentially ensure that he's getting a premium for the barley that comes through, and then the barley's going through the normal supply chain. So essentially, the only advantage that we see is because we are taking that full amount each year. So there is, I guess, for us, it's more about finding, and I guess this is the thing, right? If we get the second batch through this year, which it sounds like is more than likely going to happen, then there should be malt available on the market anyway, so no one will have to take that upfront capital risk. It'll just be there, right? Is that,
hopefully,
yeah,
hopefully, yeah. I mean, when I was saying before, I think I sort of don't want to ignore the other malt suppliers, right, from very small craft malt, where you can actually get a direct from farm. 100%. It's easier because you've got less logistics to work with, less quantities, and then Voyage has obviously got a good program as well. When I sort of talk about the development that we want to see, it's when we've got large scale critical mass amongst your Lion, Asahi, and then it is flowing through. Then we do have reduced emissions flowing through all of it. And
100%. Yeah. If we see people who are using 1,000 plus tons a year of barley coming and going, we want this to be lower emissions. Yeah. Then suddenly that gives the kick through the entire chain to go, all right, we need to source this. We need to find the farmers who can do it.
The farms get the investment. That they know that they've 100%. Got more security in terms of their program, more confidence to run with it over the years it takes if they've got good offtake.
100%.
Yeah. Dan, I don't know whether I've said anything stupid there. Or
I was going to say, I mean, I think that for us from the maltsters' perspective, we don't talk with this stuff in premiums because we really want it to be norm, and we understand that if we start to try to use it as a way to add value, like on our side, to add more value and add more costs, it's going to become prohibitive and not scalable. So yeah, from our perspective, yeah, okay, there's costs to do this stuff, no question, but it's about making sure, again, it's sustainable commercially.
100%.
That's how it works. So.
And I mean, ultimately, that's the aim of the farm gate as well, right? I mean, it's to reduce inputs, which hopefully reduces costs and increases profitability. For us, we recognise that at this point in that chain, there is a premium required in order to get it over that line. But ultimately, you're right. If it becomes more of a commoditised thing, then hopefully that price point reflects everywhere and everyone gets a fair cut at it. And it's a, I guess, long-term sustainable and viable business and model. That's what we all want it to be. So.
Yep.
Cheers, guys. Cheers. Cheers.